When I was a little girl, I used to get chest colds quite a bit, and my mother would take me to the doctor because we believed that I had caught an infection. You've heard that? Got an infection. And the doctor would give me some cherry-flavoured medicine, and I had to take it 3 times a day for a week, and then I was better. But you know, the fact is, if I hadn't gone to the doctor and taken that cherry-flavoured medicine, I would still have got better. What was the cherry-flavoured medicine? They make it very sweet so children will have it. It was an antibiotic. What is an antibiotic? In 1929, Alexander Fleming was growing bacteria in his flasks in his laboratory. And he came in one morning and they were all dead. And he scratched his head, and he had been taught Newton's third law of motion. To every action there is an equal and an opposite reaction. Why was his bacteria dead? He began to look around the laboratory. Nothing there was an indication that may have killed it. And then he looked out the window. The window was open and the sun was coming in, and there was a heavy dust was on. He could see it in the beam of light, the sunlight coming in, and it came in and it settled on his bacteria. He went outside, he looked up, and he saw in the next story there was an open window with a plate of fruit. And in the plate of fruit there was a mouldy orange. Do you remember the story from school days? The mouldy orange. Now the mould was giving off a dust, and in its dust there's a highly toxic gas designed to kill off anything that would compete with the mould's food source. But there was also its spore. Now notice the highly toxic gas. What would try and get the mould's orange? Other yeasts and funguses. So that gas came down, settled on Alexander Fleming's bacteria and killed it. Alexander Fleming called the mould penicillium. He called the mould waste penicillic acid. The penicillic acid is the penicillin we know today. Penicillin has saved the lives of thousands, probably millions, and will continue. But we've got a problem today, and it's the overuse of the antibiotics. You see, physicians today are only allowed, in Australia, they're only allowed to spend 15 minutes with you at the max. Otherwise, they don't get their Medicare rebate. You Americans might think Medicare is pretty good. It's pretty good if you have an accident, you get stitched up for nothing. But it's so abused. And it is so abused, it is incredibly effective at deceiving more. Because medicine is virtually free. So what's happening today, we've got a problem, and that's the overuse of the antibiotics. I've got a sore finger, antibiotic. I've got a sore knee, antibiotic. So what's happening now is a person, fast forward, has a serious accident, an infection sets in, and the antibiotics don't touch it. Or have you heard of golden staph? There's hardly an antibiotic that will kill golden staph, because golden staph is just a bacteria that's just adapted and adjusted. Every time the antibiotics come in, takes a blow, adapts and adjusts, and it's even stronger to resist it. Is that right? So we're getting what's called superbugs today, because they have done what God designed them to do, adapt and adjust, but they've adapted and adjusted to these poisons, so they're becoming resistant to the poisons. It makes far more sense to understand what the microbes are, what their role is on planet Earth, and work with them. Work with them. So they were so excited about the discovery of penicillin that they tested hundreds of different mould wastes. 80% of them were so deadly they killed the rats they were tested on. So antibiotics isn't deadly enough to kill you outright. But 1% of doctors today are claiming that antibiotics have caused more problems than they ever cured. What are they referring to? They're referring to the fungal or yeast or mould link with disease. You see, to date they have documented and tested 1.5 to 5 million different moulds, yeasts and funguses. And not every one of them, but a lot of them, a large amount of them are known to cause disease in mankind. There's a strong link today between fungus and cancer. An Italian oncologist named Dr. Tullio Simoncini has written a book, Cancer is a Fungus. That's pretty clear, isn't it? What he's doing is he's injecting sodium bicarbonate solution straight into the cancer, and it just wipes it out. Because cancer and fungus love an acid environment. Has he got a Nobel Prize for his discovery? Well, the pharmaceutical companies would make sure he didn't. Is that right? Because you can't patent sodium bicarbonate. And if you take sodium bicarbonate by mouth, all it will do is neutralize your stomach acid. And you need that stomach acid to digest your food. So this is putting it in, or injecting it straight into the cancer. No, unfortunately, Dr. Tullio Simoncini has had all his qualifications taken away from him, and he is forbidden to practice medicine anymore. How sad. But there are things you can do to increase or inhibit the development of yeast, mold, fungus in your body. One is to starve it. What's its favourite food? Loves sugar and yeasts. Plus also, the house has to be addressed. One lady came to us with aggressive breast cancer. She was in her late 60s. As she listened to the lecture, she went, "Oh dear." The other guest said, "What's the matter?" She said, "The ceilings in my house are always getting black with mold." She said, "I've got insulation in my roof, and I've got a lot of wood dust from a nearby timber mill, and there was a leak and it all got damp. What's happening next?" So she's got this layer of mold in her roof. The guest said, "You can't go back to that house." She said, "But it's cheap rent." Well, she won't be paying rent much longer, will she? If she goes back to that house, because she's not going to survive. I'd live in a tent by a creek rather than in a house. Wouldn't it be cold? Fire. You just light a little fire. What did the Indians do? They had fires and they had bear skins. There are ways to keep warm. And if nothing's there to warm you up, just run up and down the hill 3 times, you'll get warm. So you've got to starve the fungus. If you don't turn the tap off, you're still going to be mopping up in the other corner. So when someone comes to me wanting help to conquer cancer, we stop all fruit for 6 weeks. One lady said, "But God made fruit good." I said, "He did. And fruit is wonderful. But if you have a yeast problem in your body, to the point of a serious illness like cancer, you need to stop it for a period of time. If someone has a yeast presence in their body but they don't have cancer, just make it a very low sweet fruits, like maybe Granny Smith apples, your grapefruits. Just until it's conquered. Number 2, kill. I do think we've got to get away from the kill mentality, but there are herbs that will kill fungus and they won't kill you. And because your body has the ability to adapt and adjust, my suggestion is change the medications every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So one is grapefruit seed extract. Grapefruit seed extract is one of the most potent. Another one is olive leaf extract. Another one is oregano essential oil, thyme essential oil, clove essential oil. Also a South American plant called pordiaco contains strong antifungal properties. So you can see there's a whole lot of things, and something we all know, garlic. Garlic's a strong one. Don't use all your ammunition at once. 2 weeks of this one, 2 weeks of that one. Number 3, alkalize. Cancer and fungus both love an acid environment. And on Thursday I'll be talking about the acid-alkaline balance. But your most alkaline foods are your vegetables. And in the vegetable kingdom, the most alkaline is greens, dark green leafy vegetables. So green drinks, there's your spirulinas and your wheatgrasses, your green barleys. Number 4 is balance. Flood the gastrointestinal tract with the probiotic to bring the balance back. One lady said, I've got candida. I said, congratulations, we all have. And there are dozens of different species of candida, and everyone has candida in their gut. And in the right balance, those microbes play an important role in the running of your gut. But when the Lactobacillus acidophilus have been killed off, allowing the candida yeast to get out of control, that's when you might have a problem. What are the symptoms of someone having a yeast presence in their body? Well, how long's a piece of string? One lady told me, this is a couple of years ago, she said to me, I was feeling quite sick and I had rashes developing on me. I was always tired. She said, I was so tired I had to stop work. So I just stayed at home and I laid in my bed. She said, one weekend I went and stayed with a friend in the country. She was living in a trailer and she felt quite good. But when she came back to her house, she went down again. She was laying in bed wondering what to do, and the end of her bed was the wall, and she noticed black starting to spread up over the wall. Between her bedroom and the bathroom there was a leaking pipe. She showed me a photo of her, and her whole head was swollen with huge welts all over her body. She realised it was mould. Now there's a little documentary you can download from the internet called Mouldy. And I think we're going to be showing it to you tomorrow night. Wow, your eyes are opened. These were people that had, all sorts of problems, and no one could fix them because they kept going back to their house. Do you know, it could be that there are too many trees near the house. It could be that the gutters are filled up with leaves. It could be that there's a leaking pipe. It could be many things. That's why you have to investigate. And if there's ever been a flood and the carpet's got wet, that carpet has to go. I don't think Florence Scott Nightingale would ever allow carpet in a hospital. You see, dust mites, moles, yeast and funguses, they only grow where they're getting fed. Whereas with tiled floors, with board floors, they can easily be swept and kept clean. And you can always put a mat on the floor, can't you? So you've got to investigate and find out how the house is. Windows should be open, fans should be on. One of the beauties of the air conditioning you have, and I think you have water heating here, that I noticed that the bathroom keeps dry, the towels dry because of the, and that's one plus of air conditioning, is that it gets the moisture out of the air. But one has to be cautious too of the air conditioners, that they're running well and not actually putting a mouldy air in. There are many areas that can come. That's why we should all investigate to find out why these things are so, why there is a present there. One lady went on a strict antifungal diet. I have written a book on this subject because I find there is so much ignorance on this subject. And I mentioned Dr. Tullio Simoncini, and I bought all these books, so I have resources for my book. One is Professor Constantini. Professor Constantini is former head of the World Health Organization Department of Mycology. You see, a mold waste is a mycotoxin. So he was head of the Department of Mycology. And after 25 years, he put all of his findings into a book. And if you Google fungal bionics, you can actually find his work. Professor Constantini. One book's called The Garden of Eden Diet. Another book is called Breast Cancer, Hope at Last. And I think his third book, which I don't have, is on prostate cancer. He shows in his book a reading of PSA is a reading of fungus in the body. He shows clearly also that, and he's German, Dr. Tullio Simoncini, he's Italian. Can you see these discoveries are happening all over the planet? And what does the proverb say? In the multitude of counselors, there's safety or there's wisdom. He shows without any hesitation the link between fungus and disease, fungus and cancer. In fact, in one of his books, he quotes 30,000 medical research papers showing the link between cancer and fungus. So why doesn't medicine acknowledge this? It's very difficult because their most popular medications are made from a mold or a mold waste, like your antibiotics, your contraceptive pill, your statin drugs, your cortisones. One of the most powerful ways to stimulate a healing response in the body is to stop eating. Why is that? Well, it takes 1,200 calories to just digest a meal. So when you're not digesting a meal, the blood and energy that usually goes to that digestion now goes to other parts of the body. It's like what happens, I know it happens to me, when I'm home on holidays. Home on holidays, I go to the parts of my house that are bugging me, but I haven't had time to get to. You know, it's you wash your clothes and you wash the dishes and you cook your meals and you make your bed. You just do the basics, and then there's that area that you're going to get to when you've got time. That's what your body's going to be doing today. Now, before it cleans house, it has to make sure that the organs of elimination are working well. No good cleaning the house and keeping all the rubbish in the house, is there? And before restoration or regeneration can happen, we've got to clean the house. You would never paint an old dirty wall, would you? You'd always clean it first. And you would never have a shower and put your old dirty clothes back on. You've got to clean the house first. As the house is cleaned, the waste is thrown off via 4 main organs of elimination. The largest is the lungs. We never think of our lungs as an organ of elimination, do we? And yet the surface area in our lungs is huge. If you were to stretch out all those little alveoli, it takes a large surface area. When I say the largest, I'm referring to getting rid of the gaseous waste. Because there is another organ, and that is your skin. And really, you could say largest, more to that. So the lungs would be the larger with getting rid of the gas, and that's the carbon dioxide that comes off from digestion. And your lungs have certain needs. Your lungs need fresh air. Make sure you're outside walking every day. But it's cold. Well, we've got extra coats and extra gloves and extra hats if you need them. But the more oxygen you take in, the more waste can be eliminated out of the body. Right as you sit here now, you're breathing in 500 ml and breathing out 500 ml. But when you're running up a hill, maybe you'll go up those little hills up to that canal there, or maybe you'll walk up that big hill behind us. When you're walking up the hill fast or running, and you start breathing very deeply, you're breathing in 3,600 ml of air. What a difference. And you're breathing out 3,600 ml of waste. So make sure you get those lungs working very hard every day. If you can't run, just walking up the hill, you'll just walk fast. In fact, that big steep slope up there, you don't have to run at all. All you have to do is walk and climb, and your body will start moving. So make sure you're getting fresh air and make sure you're exercising. Also, water. Your lungs, every exhalation, moisture's given off. I'm sure this morning when you were outside on your morning walk, you could see each other's breath, yeah? It was very cold out there. I couldn't believe how cold it was. Now I know why there's still bits of snow here and there. It's so cold. You forget how cold it is when you come inside. Your skin is a very potent organ of elimination, and your skin needs to breathe. Dr. Kellogg, very famous doctor, he called the skin, the pores in the skin, millions of little sewers. Sewers? What does a sewer do? Gets rid of the waste, yeah? So make sure your skin breathes to allow it to get rid of the waste. If you're used to putting a cream on your skin, because it's a little dry maybe, and in this wind that certainly can happen, you need to read your ingredients and make sure there's nothing toxic in your skin creams. And please, no antiperspirants. If you feel that your body odor is strong, just have another shower. Have another shower. And it's very important for you to end your shower with cold, because ending with cold will prevent you chilling when you go outside. But if you have a hot shower and go outside, you can chill on that. So make sure you end with cold. The good news is it can be very quick. Also make sure your skin is getting exercise, because when you exercise, you increase the circulation of the blood to the skin. And when you exercise, your skin is able to throw off more waste. Hopefully when you get back from your exercise, you will require a hot and cold shower. Your skin also needs for you to have water, because your skin uses water to get rid of the waste. So make sure you're well hydrated. 8+ glasses a day. If you're finding it hard to drink cold water in this cool climate, but by the way, it's not cool inside, is it? Put a little boiling water with it. Put a little squeeze of lemon with it. And the best way to have your 8+ glasses a day is little by little. If you have a glass of water between every juice, you will easily make up your 8 glasses a day. So your body needs the water in. There's your 8 glasses. But also that little bit of Celtic salt. Celtic salt contains 82 minerals. So Celtic salt has the minerals that your body needs to be able to get the water inside the cell. You also need water out. And that's why we have a steam bath every day on the Detox. Because in the steam bath, your body temperature rises, and when your body temperature rises, you can give off more waste. In fact, when you do a steam bath, your skin can give up 70% of your body's waste. That's impressive. So make sure you have a big sweat on those days that you're juicing especially. So the water outside is the steam, and ideally also we'd like you to be having about 2 showers a day. So maybe another one after your morning walk. Kidneys. Your kidneys are also an organ of elimination, and your kidneys filter your blood. And your kidneys need to be warm. It's not hard to keep warm in this weather, is it? Your kidneys are detoxing, and you need to keep them warm so that they can effectively filter your blood. Your kidneys also need for you to drink adequate water. 8+ glasses a day. And I don't suggest you taste your urine, but believe me, and I'm sure you will be happy just to believe me, it's salty. So we need to be having the salt. Because every time you perspire, every time you urinate, you're giving off more minerals, and you need to replace them. On Friday, I'll be lecturing on salt, and I'll be defining it for you. Your kidneys also, you see, another reason why your kidneys need water is because it keeps the blood nice and thin, which makes it very, very easy for the kidneys to filter the waste. Your kidneys also need you to exercise, because when you exercise, not only do you increase the circulation of the blood to the kidneys, but when you're walking, every step that you take, your kidneys are moving. So exercise causes a strengthening and a toning of the kidneys. Now, only microscopic waste can come out via your lungs, skin and kidneys. The largest pieces of waste is eliminated via your colon. So let me draw the colon and show you. So the colon is in the lower part of your abdomen. Actually, it does come up a little bit high. One part, in fact, especially on the left side, it goes right up under your rib. This is what your colon looks like. There's your appendix, there's your small intestine. And then there's a loop at the end of your colon. And there is a muscle called puborectalis. When I talk about the gut tonight, I'll be going over this again. Now that muscle, puborectalis, holds the last part of the colon up, and that prevents accidents. So looking at the colon, an old proverb, Proverb 14 verse 6, states, knowledge is easy to him that understands. When you understand the colon, you have now the knowledge on how to keep it. Now, because of all these little folds and grooves and pockets, the colon must have fibre. We are not giving you any fibre for 2.5 days, and the highest source of fibre really is your plant-based food, especially your vegetables. So we're not giving you any fibre for 2.5 days. We'll put plants, that's an excellent source. So if things slow down in your colon department, please see the staff, and we will give you a tea that we call colon tea. And that colon tea contains herbs that gently stimulate movement in the colon. Psalm 104 verse 14, the Bible says, God gave herbs for the service of man. These specific herbs are designed to stimulate movement in the colon. The colon also needs you to laugh. We don't laugh enough. Children laugh 125 times a day. So should we. So please, laugh more. I don't feel like it. We'll just go like this. Made you laugh. We should laugh more. What does the proverb says? It's medicine. Proverbs 17:22 says, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit dries up the bones. You know, some people are sick because of broken spirits. And there's no need for any of us to have a broken spirit, because there is a healer. And his name is Jesus Christ, yes? So laugh. We have got much to be happy about. You see, your colon's got a mind of its own, and it must be stimulated. Have you noticed if you've got constipation and you tell it to go, it won't? And if you've got diarrhea and you tell it to stop, it won't. It needs stimulation. And these are the things that will stimulate. Laughter will stimulate, fibre will stimulate it, water will stimulate it. One of the main functions of the colon is to take water out so stools are formed. If a person's dehydrated, more water gets taken out than should be taken out. And then we're left with rabbit pellets and cement in the colon. But the colon also needs exercise. What exercise does is it increases circulation of the blood to the colon, and it also causes the colon to move. So every step that you take, there's a movement. Now when a person, let me draw this, I shall draw it up here. When a person is sitting on the throne, let's draw the throne. Here's the throne. And a person is sitting on the throne, puborectalis remains tight. Now things can still get through, as we know, but if a person sits on the throne and in front of the throne they put a little stool so that they are mimicking squatting, then puborectalis relaxes and it opens. And when puborectalis relaxes and opens, then the colon opens and the contents can pass with ease. 3 weeks ago I was in India I was staying a night before I caught my early morning flight in an apartment in Delhi. It was a 3-story apartment, and my hosts were taking me there. I'd already been in India for 5 days. It was a little street in Delhi, and I thought, whoa, what sort of a place are they taking me to? And when we opened the door, it was beautiful marble staircases, and we had a 3-story beautiful apartment. But the bathroom had a hole in the floor. That's how you did your daily. All lined with marble, all very beautiful, but a hole in the floor. Do you know, in many Indian countries, well, India is a country, but in many of the remote areas, if you go to Asia, if you go to Africa, this is what you will see. So to be able to go, you need to squat, yes? Now, I'm not suggesting that we go to that. We can keep our thrones, but put a little stool in front to mimic the squatting, or if you go to Bed Bath and Beyond, you can buy Squatty Potty. That's its name. And the Squatty Potty is like a stool that actually wraps around the throne, and when you're not using it, you can push it back in. But squatting can be incredibly helpful for people who have hemorrhoids. Can you imagine if you're sitting and the person hasn't been for a while, so they decide to put pressure on? That should never happen. An enormous amount of pressure goes on the end here. And when an enormous amount of pressure goes on the end, something's got to give. And little bubbles come out called hemorrhoids. Now, they're so nasty that we're just going to rub them away again. But I think most people have heard of them. This will heal hemorrhoids because it takes all the pressure off that area. It can also prevent hemorrhoids because it takes all pressure off that area. One lady said to me when she'd bought her Squatty Potty and she goes every day, she said, it's almost as if I haven't been enough. And she said, and I have a look, and I certainly have. You see, everything's opened. So one can pass with ease. So it's very good news for people who have constipation problems, hemorrhoid problems. Now, if you find it difficult to squat, you can start just doing this. Start doing that, because it's usually your thighs that'll stop you squatting. Yeah? Try. But we really should be doing this every day. Got that? Not only just for this, but to strengthen our pelvic girdle. If you go into aged care facilities, you will find 80 plus of the residents there, and I'm particularly talking about women, have prolapses. Do you know why they have prolapses? 2 reasons. One is gravity's constantly pulling us down. Weak muscles. Weak muscles, and muscle knows no age. So whether you're 9 or 90, you should be implementing an exercise program every single day. And did you know that there are about 800 cases in court at the moment suing because of what the mesh has done to people? You've heard of the mesh? A lady has a prolapse, the muscles are weak, so the doctor puts mesh in there to try and hold it together. But in many cases, the mesh isn't working and the mesh is growing into other parts of the body. Is the problem the mesh? No. The problem's not the mesh. The mesh was only created because muscles aren't strong anymore. Is this genetics? Is this a germ? No. No. And to blame genetics or a germ is as crazy as blaming genetics and a germ for anything, as I trust you have seen this morning. No, we need to strengthen this body. We need to go into training. Have you seen the exercise protocol for the Olympian athletes? Have you had a look? Have you had a look at how much they do? Well, we're training for something more important than the Olympic Games. What's that? Life. Do you know God is looking around the planet for workers? And he hasn't got many. And some of them have gone down because the body's gone down. I had 2 50-year-old women a few months ago. Both had prolapses. Both had the operation with the mesh. Both times it didn't work, and then both of these women had to have total hysterectomies. It's time to start putting a fence at the top of the cliff instead of the ambulance down the bottom. You've heard of that illustration? There's a cliff. People keep falling off the cliff, so they have a really state-of-the-art paramedics down there to patch them all up. But what should we be doing? Just put a fence at the top of the cliff. Then there's no need for a whole team down the bottom. So how do we put a fence at the top of the lift? At the top of the cliff, we actually look after our body. We make sure we're getting that fresh air. We make sure we're getting that exercise every morning. Don't you think I would much prefer to be in that nice warm room, reading my Bible, maybe talking to my husband on WhatsApp, drinking my hot lemon drink, than being out there in that freezing cold, running up hills, which is terribly uncomfortable? Isn't that why I weed my garden? It's hard work. The weeds come out. I get all dirty. But what have I got at the end of my weeding? I have a beautiful garden. God wants all of us to be beautiful gardens. Is that right? But we've got to do the weeding. We've got to do the maintenance. And who's the winner when we do the maintenance? We are. But not only us, everyone that lives with us is benefited by it. Is that right? So, as you go through this detox, make sure your organs of elimination are getting all they require to be able to eliminate effectively. In fact, if your organs of elimination are eliminating effectively, you will cruise much easier through your detox. Because remember, as the waste starts to get thrown off, it needs to be released. There's one more tiny little organ of elimination called the tongue. Don't be surprised if when you get up every morning your tongue doesn't feel very nice. One man said to me, it's like the I was going to say chook house. You don't know what a chook is, do you? We call adult chickens chooks. It tasted like the floor in the chook house, he reckons. That's waste coming off. Do you know when your body odour's bad, when your breath is bad, when what you leave in the bathroom is bad? Rejoice. Where was it before it came out? So the tongue will be throwing off waste, and there's a simple thing that you can do to pull out that waste. It's called oil pulling. And oil pulling has been done for centuries. I've only known about it for about 10 years. What is it? You take a spoonful of coconut oil, put it in your mouth, and you swish. Swish, swish. You might swish for 10 seconds, rest for 10 seconds, swish for 10 seconds, rest for 10 seconds. Why is it called oil pulling? It pulls waste out of your tongue. It pulls waste out of the glands under your tongue. It pulls waste out of the blood vessels under your tongue. And when you've oil pulled for 10 minutes, ideally 10, you go outside on the grass. Please not down the sink, because the coconut oil will go solid and plumber and plug up our plumbing. Go outside on the grass and spit it out. Release it out onto the grass. Have a glass of water. Rinse your mouth with a couple of times and also release it out. You see, that oil will now be full of waste, possibly even toxic chemicals. So you want it out. While you're on the detox, my suggestion is that you do this 3 or 4 times a day. You almost can't do it too much. I'll give you a story to show you how powerful it is. My son-in-law was lacquering a floor, and it was next to a dusty road, so he had the door shut. And he'd forgotten to bring his mask. So by the end of the day, he felt very ill. He went home and he said to my daughter, "I feel so ill." And then he had the idea, I might oil pull. I've heard about it. He put the oil in his mouth. Within 2 minutes, all he could taste was strong chemicals, so he spat it out. Rinsed his mouth, did it again. This time it took 4 minutes to get the strong chemicals. Every time he did it, it took a little bit longer to get the chemical taste. He did that for 1 hour. And by the end, he oil pulled for 15 minutes before he got the chemical taste. Do you know that 1 hour's treatment he gave himself, he no longer felt ill? In other words, it's a very quick way to get waste out of your body. But there's more. One lady told me she'd had gingivitis, infected gums and bleeding gums. She did oil pulling every day, and after 2 weeks, her gums were not bleeding. They were no more infected. Some people have receding gums. Well, oil pulling nourishes the cells that line the gums. Because coconut oil is antibacterial, if there's any pathogens in your mouth, it'll kill them off. And it's the pathogens that eat holes in your enamel, in your teeth. I go to the dentist about every 2 years just to have it checked. The last 3 times I've gone, he just says nothing, there's nothing there. How nice. I think that's got to do with oil pulling and definitely the nourishment that I'm giving my body. One lady had sinus problems, and she said, every time I oil pull, when I'm finished, I blow and blow and blow my nose. The oil pulling seems to loosen what's up in my sinus. Another lady told me who had a chest problem, every time she oil pulls, after she's oil pulled, she starts bringing up things from the chest. So it appears to pull more than just out of the tongue and the glands under the tongue and the blood vessel under the tongue. It also appears to start pulling waste out of the respiratory organs. So it's such a simple thing to do and yet quite powerful. If you're not used to it and you put the oil in your mouth and after a minute you can't stand it, by all means release it out, because the next time you do it, you'll probably be able to keep it there a bit longer. There's a pathway in my brain now that when I oil pull, it says, it's all right, she's not going to swallow it. Because we're used to putting something in our mouth and we're going to swallow it. Is that right? But you can rewire your brain. In fact, on Saturday morning, I'll be showing you how you can rewire your brain right up until the day you die. So your part in the detox is to ensure that your body's getting all the things it needs to effectively detox. We do as much as we can, but the rest rests with you to give your body the right conditions for healing. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to be speaking upon the liver, and the liver is your project manager. Your liver is orchestrating the detox. And the first lecture tomorrow, we're going to be looking at what your liver's doing tomorrow, because tomorrow you'll be going into a different stage of detox. You'll be going into a deeper stage of detox tomorrow. The second lecture tomorrow is hormones. I'm going to be looking at those little chemical messengers in our body and how disruption of those is causing many problems today, and bringing back the balance is healing many problems. So thank you for your attention. I look forward to being with you tomorrow in our next set of lectures.